Critical condition continues. It's 16th of March. And all day I've had issues with the kids that have completely destroyed my tent. They've caused over £100 worth of damage. Wrote the tent off, all the poles are snapped. But one of the sleeping bags is already destroyed, it stinks. One of the mats is destroyed. So the inner tent's completely destroyed. So I've got all the invoices. There's £130 worth of damage if I manage to find the rest of the receipts. So they've completely destroyed the tent when I've not been in. And also, the woman that they've internalised my entire sex power into, they're saying sorry and you know what's happened, don't you? While controlling her. Well, basically they've controlled the woman that they filled my entire sex power into the love of my life. They started saying sorry into my sex power and stripping it out. So they've created the scenario themselves, or created the interaction whereby you're walking past somebody that they've put into your main drives or encapsulated into your main drives and then apologising into your power and stripping it out, saying you know what's happened, don't you, while stripping your power out. So crippling, belittling and degrading, killing your sex power in society, crippling, degrading or emasculation, killing your sex power whilst apologising, saying you know what's happening, don't you, while killing your power. So the main drive, or the main relativisation that they've relativised for over 15 years, they've just put her in a situation where she's been near me and they're saying sorry and you know what's happened, don't you, because they've been controlling into having sex with people I know again. So stopping me getting sex power and then killing my power and letting them get what they want. So I'm saying I'm going to make a video tomorrow or later on this week saying they've cost me sex with over 50 women. There's no doubts whatsoever. So I'm going to release a video this morning. It's only 2 months off going on hunger strike. I'm obviously going to die on it. There's no doubts whatsoever I'm going to die on it. I've been waiting all winter to go on it. It's obviously been critical condition, getting worse and worse. We're sorry all day. It's now over 1,000 times a day. We're crippling apologies, stripping my life out, saying sorry into my power and stripping it out, saying sorry into my sex power, saying sorry into my sex drives. Obviously there's the life they'll say it's mental illness or whatever else, but the fact is my jaw is completely out shut. I've got no ability to get sexually aroused, no ability to get a full erection. I've not been sexually active my entire life. So for me, there isn't any point in living. They're getting me attacked and assaulted every day to kill my power. You know, they've integrated deviant and highly destructive labels into society. So it's at a point now where they're saying you haven't got any power. So if that's the case, you can call it that I've got no power in society. It's like I said, I've been almost living in this tent for going on 3 years. I've been unemployed since 2019/2020, which is 6 or 7 years. And that was only a year employment. I've never been in a sexual relationship. And like I said, this sex power I've got with women, I've never had sex with them or even dated them because they're committing crime against me, saying sorry. And these women, they're putting my sexual tension in or arousal into. They're saying sorry into my sex power after and controlling them into having sex with other people. So basically they're stopping me getting power apparently, whereby they put your sex power into something, then kill your sex power. So what they'll do is they'll relativise like they have with this woman that's been obviously the main woman that I fancied for years. They've put her in the main drives and they're stopping me getting power, saying you know what's happened, don't you, and controlling into having sex with other people. So what they're doing is, the fact is, it's the exact same as what's happened in my tent today, where it's been destroyed. Like I've said in other videos, they continually put your power into something or put your power somewhere and then kill your power. So obviously the main point in my life is my tent, where it's got all my gear in. It's where I get to relax, it's where I get to cook food. It's the only place I can keep some of my clothes dry and stay dry at night. And they're saying sorry into my power and committing crime against me by killing my power. They've completely destroyed my tent. So it's the exact same as when you're in an institute and your materials go missing or your clothes go missing, or they're putting your life into something and stuff goes missing, it gets destroyed. Like I said, they relativise the power of something in the institutional self and then kill your power or commit crime against something or destroy the power of it or commit crime against it. And that's the same with women. They relativise your sexual attraction or sexual arousal with women and controlling into having sex with somebody else or getting sex from somebody else, and then kill your power internally. So you're sat in a situation knowing you've had a crime committed against you and you can't figure out what it is. And it's the same today when I've had my tent completely destroyed. It's absolutely wrought off and destroyed. These children that have destroyed my tent know who I am at this point because I've videoed them, and they're ignoring my power to commit crime against me, and they've wrought my tent off. So it's another situation whereby my power, or what they've relativised, that I get joy out of. Not joy, but I get dry out of. I stay dry. So this is something I get power out of because it's keeping me dry at night. They killed my power by getting it destroyed. They've completely destroyed it, like absolutely wrote it off. It's unusable now, there's no doubts, because they snapped the poles. So they've snapped 2 tent poles. It's unusable, it's wrote off. So it's scrapped in, it needs scrapping in. And that's just another method or another instance as to where they go into your power to kill your power and commit crime against you from the system, whereby you're getting, it's not just always materialistic or something else. It could be a family dying or whatever else, where your family had died unexpectedly and prematurely, so you're getting power out of, or drives out of your family, and then they're essentially dying. I'm not saying they've been killed, I'm just saying they're dying under unexpected circumstances, and it's the same with women. But this has happened to me for over 20 years. And today I've seen the woman that they've relativised one of my main sexual arousal with and said, sorry, you know what's happened, don't you? So basically they create your life for you or create your power for you whilst committing crime against you. They're entitled to kill your power and entitled to go into your power and commit crime against you. Like I said, I'm 34 at the end of this year. 34. I'm 33 now, I'm 34 at the end of this year, and I've never been in a sexual relationship, ever. At 33, nearly 34. So at the end of this week, I'm going on hunger strike this summer anyway, but I'm going to say, look, this has cost me 80% of my life, because they're continually putting my sex power into women, then committing crime against me and stopping me having sex with her or stopping me dating her. And it's cost me sex with every woman I've ever met, because they're controlling her into sleeping with the same people over and over again. And this is the same aspect with education and work. They're continually putting my power into something, or my drives into something, then committing crime against me in a controlled state and stopping me from achieving it or stopping me from getting that. So it's a method of breaking sessions or method of mortification of self, curtailing your power, saying, they've said it loads of times, you're not getting power. So they've created a job where they're entitled to commit crime against me from the system and say, you're not getting power. And it's cost me about 80% of my life, and that's all that is. That's what it's not even the complaint, that's the illegal part of it. That's not a dispute from me. There's not a dispute to it. That's what they've done. They've cost me 80% of my power in society, saying you're not getting power. So whatever they rationalise that with, as detectives and probation officers, has been on to me. Obviously, it'll be information they're submitting into the institutional self, but the facts of the matter are this: it's cost me 80% of my apparent power in society. So it's cost me 80% of my life. I've lost 80% of my life. They're saying that's your power in society, and apparently they're entitled to do that. They're entitled to commit crime against your power in society, or entitled to curtail it or prevent or restrict you getting power in society. But that's cost me, I'm making a video tomorrow saying it's cost me my entire life, over 80%. It's cost me marriage, children, sex with 50 women, and obviously some of them are the loves of my life, and they've committed crime against me, preventing me having sex with them or preventing me dating them, preventing me getting power. Apparently you're not getting power, and in some instances I've even been engaging in sex, and they've snagged all my sex drives internally whilst I'm engaging in sex and relativised you're not getting power and preventing me from having sex with her. In other words, they've completely made me redundant are all sensations, or redundant are all sexual arousal or attraction to the woman whilst engaging in sex, saying you're not getting power into my, in crippling, degrading internally, calling me a liar, saying you're not getting power while I'm trying to engage in sex. So there's been numerous times where I've even been engaging in sex and they committed crime against me, stopping me from doing it, saying you're not getting power. So they've made a job, or they apparently create power, they create prowess for themselves or create gratification in the system by stopping me getting power. That's what they've been told as officers. They've been told as officers that they get gratification and they're entitled to commit crime against somebody by stopping them from getting power in society. That's what they've been told, and that's what they do. Even when I'm out trying to have sex, they're entitled to go into my sex power, or they're entitled to go into my sexual relations and stop me during sex and relativise you're not getting power, because that's classified as power in society. So it's in every aspect, whether it's education, whether it's in employment, no matter what no matter what factor it is, it's still the same aspects. Doesn't matter whether it's financial, material, relationships. Doesn't matter what area of your life it's in. They've been told, or they're entitled to go into your life, or entitled to go into your so-called power and commit crime against you to stop you getting power, or create gratification for themselves by committing crime against you and stopping you getting what you're entitled to. That's apparently what they've been told. It's cost me 80% of my life. So tomorrow, now I've seen that woman that's obviously been, she's married now, I've never had sex with her, she's slept with everybody else now because everybody else gets sex out of every woman. I'm going to say tomorrow, they've cost me 80% of my life, and I'm going to put it on there saying, look, they're going into my life every day saying you're not getting power and committing crime against me, stopping me getting stopping me getting power in society apparently. They've got gratification out of committing crime against me saying you're not getting power in society, and it's cost me 80% of my life. So we're going to make that tomorrow or later on this week on the 19th, and then we'll also declare the inevitable hunger strike that's been happening all winter. Definitely this winter, 100%. I'm now 33 and I'm still in the exact same situation as what I was on 10 years ago. I'm 10 times worse, 20 times worse than what I was 10 years ago when I first started complaining, and they're still saying, crippling apologies, saying sorry into my sex power, committing crime against me. I've not been in a relationship that entire time. There's not a fucking chance, there's not a chance on this earth I would have ever had children or got married or bought a home whatsoever. They've run me into the ground. I've now been on the street corner, sleeping on the streets for 3 years because they're stripping my power out, and it's just getting worse. The point is, I've told them this time and time again, they've ignored my entitlement or my power, and carried on doing it. So this is happening on an hourly basis. They're going into my institutional self and stripping my power out, and it's just getting worse and worse. So it's getting worse and worse, even though I've told them to stop doing it, and it's costing me every day of my life. So I'm going to say this week they've cost me 80% of my life. I've now been on the streets for going on to 3 years. I've been unemployed for 6, potentially 7 years. I've not been on holiday that entire 10 years. Not been on holiday that entire 10 years, never mind one a year. So I've not been in a sexual relationship that entire time. I've concluded sex in those 10 years twice with one woman. So I've only concluded sex. What I mean by that is it's been disrupted intercourse every single time I've tried to have sex, and I've only concluded ejaculate intercourse twice with one woman in 10 years because they've cost me sex with, I'm going to say tomorrow, they've cost me sexual intercourse with 50 women from the age of 16-year-old or whatever else when I was dating and stuff, because that's how many women they're committing crime against me, controlling. Every single time I've dated a woman or spoke to a woman, they're controlling to having sex with somebody else. So I'm going to say tomorrow that they've cost me sex with 50 women and it's a forced suicide, because I'm 34 now. I've only had sex twice my entire life, never been in a sexual relationship, been on the streets for 3 years, no chance whatsoever, never ever been even remotely close to being in a situation to get married or have children whatsoever. I've only had 18 months employment, potentially my entire life. So potentially my entire life I've had 18 months employment that entire time. That's not been for 7 years now, 6-7 years. So there's obviously not ever going to be a marriage or any holidays. It's supposed to be 1 or 2 holidays a year. That is definitely not happening. So tomorrow, or on the 19th, it's now the 16th of March 2026. We're obviously going on hunger strike in 12 week, 10 week, and it's going to be the decisive hunger strike. Well, we're going to try. They've pulled me off every other time for the last 10 years, but this has got to end. Like, it cannot carry on. It's crippling breaking sessions saying sorry, crippling apologies, stripping my power out. I'm just a punch bag all day. I have now been having my power stripped out with crippling breaking sessions and mortification of self all day, every day for 10 years, costing me every day of my life. They've internalised my physical power to communicate into and strip out my power, and it's to the extent where I can't even get up. I can't go to the gym. My jaw is completely locked shut. The back of my skull is harder than a brick. The amount of pressure on my internal organs, I can't get a full penis erection. I'm in a full controlled state, one of the worst controlled states in the country, by the way. Never had a life whatsoever, and I'm going to say they've cost me 80% of my life in society to create an institutional self, or an overwhelmed case. It's called total institutionalising, where they strip your life out all day, internalising it so they can bring it forward and you're in a full controlled state. So I've said it's definitely one of the worst cases of institutionalisation in the country, because of continuous and frequent corrosion of the self and mortification of self, stripping my power out. It's been all day today, like it is yesterday, like all the videos are. Years and years with my physical power in turn, communicating shit into my power and stripping it out, because they've made an internal punch bag whereby they're saying apparently I've got criminal power, and they spend all day stripping it out. So That's their issue. That's their problem. I've not had anything to do with it. I'm now 34 at the end of this year. It's cost me the best years of my life. That's my entire 20s gone. Like I said, there's not been one holiday in them 10 years. There's not been one. There's not been one relationship, one sexual relationship. There's not been one relationship fact, period, whatsoever. I've had sex with one woman twice. That's it. Concluded sex twice in my entire life. I'm 34. So there will never ever have been children, marriage, sexual relations, girlfriend, anything of that nature. And that itself, the woman they control me into, I've said it's illegal because she had no education, she had dead bloodlines, and they've controlled me into a council tramp. Simple as that. All they're doing is gathering information for the system that's not happening in society. So forced suicide still continues, still waiting to go on hunger strike in 10 weeks. But I'm going to make the video in a few days saying 80% of my life gone, or 80% of my power in society is gone, so they can create an institutional self or a full institutionalisation case. They've cost me 80% of my life. So as far as I'm concerned, it's high risk crime. They don't cost anybody 10 pence. I've said to them, you shouldn't even be costing me 10 pence. Never mind 20 years of my life. It's nearly £1 million. It's worth £1 million to some people. If you go to anybody, they'll pay £1 million for that. That's the entire 20s. If you pay somebody for their entire 20s, oh wow, it's worth more than £1 million. Put it this way, I don't know what it's worth. But if I were to think about what I'd want now to get back all those years, 20 years of never being sexually active and being prevented from sex power, 20 years of being stopped from education and work or power in society, what would I want money-wise, what they could pay me out for now to settle it, and de-institutionalising? It's not £1 million, not even close to £1 million. It's well, £1 million doesn't even cover the last 5 years because I've been in a critical condition all day, every day, losing every day of my life. So it's well over £1 million, 2 million, well over 2 million if we're talking for 20 years, easily. I've got to get an education and get my house and stuff. For what they've done and how much life they've cost me, that's all my school life as a kid where they were committing crime against me, getting me assaulted. They cost me sex as a kid, 18, 19. They crippled my body. My body's completely disfigured with stretch marks and stuff because they created a fat wanker that can't handle his own shit, because they crippled my ability to get up, so I never exercised as a kid and gained an excessive amount of weight, and it's disfigured my body to this day. So still to this day, in my 30s, my body's disfigured and my skin's completely disfigured, which is obviously a serious implication with regards to apparently power in society or sex power. What would needed money-wise to address all these issues, all the assaults, all the disfigurement of my body, all the prevention from sex or power in society, all the assaults or all the attacks, all the degrading, all the times they've got me assaulted and made videos, or all the times they've had my sister be a victim of paedophilia and all this stuff, all the fact that my family's died prematurely, randomly all my family died, unexpectedly. All these incidents I'm attributing to the controlled state because that's what it is. They don't have to accept that. They won't know what that is, but that's the facts. I'd say it's well over 3 million. Before I even start looking at additional factors or additional attributes to the claim or whatever it is, for me to actually fully... if they wanted to address this problem right now, they'd have to pull that full institutional self out back to the day I was 13-year-old and compensate me, which I doubt they'd be able to do without convicting the officers. And it's going to be over 3 million. Before I even look into it, it could be 3 times that. But I'm going to start, I'll have to think it's well over 3 million. Before I even think about it and start making assessments, it's going to be the price would be well over £3 million, and that full institutional self they opened at 13 would all need pulling out and doing again. So you'd have to live your entire teens and 20s again because they fucked about, committing crime against your power all day, and that all needs pulling out because I can't get an erection, because I've got no power in society because I've never got an education or sex power in society. My institutional self's got tens of thousands of deviant relativisations through it, homosexuality relativised through it, random black kids walking through it because they've created a job where they create your power for you. Symbolic interactionism, it's got tens of thousands of fucking deviant relativisations that are not getting me a life, and it's just institutionalising somebody. So they frequently relativised deviant or incorrect relativizations through the institutional self, and it's institutionalised somebody, because all they've done is create a job in society where they commit crime against you, relativising shit all day. So like I've explained in other videos, I remember I used to walk to work at 4 in the morning when there were nobody on the roads, and a random black guy just randomly walked past me, and they'd integrate him or relativise him into my main drives in life. Same as when I was going to the library, they've integrated old men into my sex drive, so random old men, it's love of my life. So this is no joke either. They've relativised random old men in random institutionalisation case in library into love of my life, into my main power in life. I don't even know the fuck they are, because they've institutionalise somebody by going into your power, and instead of putting it into your marriage and your children or your girlfriend and your family, they relativise pure shit all day. So I've got tens of thousands of relativisations with my jaw completely locked shut, with my entire life in it. So they need to pull every bit of it out back to the day I was 13. So that's all that is. The amount of shit they've put in that and snack, the amount of stuff, as well as the physical pain I'm in, the amount of stuff they've put in that institutional self, doing what they want to institutionalise somebody. You've got to do anyway, because they relativise what they want in it. So tens of thousands of incorrect relativisations in the institutional self. The fact my jaw's completely locked shut and my sex power's completely drained out and pulled out. The fact that I'm in pain every day. I can't sleep. I can't do anything. I've got no quality of life because they pulled all my power out. So what I'm saying is, to conclude, to solve this issue for me, to live in the confines of reality in social life, the crimes they've committed against me is a crime against humanity. It's vast because of how much shit they've done. So for me to address it without arrests, without them arresting the officers, they would need to pull that full institutional self out, a lot of those relativisations that are apparently doing me all this right good stuff that are apparently helping me, but it's not helping me because I've not been employed ever. I've had 1 year's employment and I'm now homeless for 3 years. So if they've helped me, then it could have fooled me, because I've never been in a sexual relationship. I've been living on the streets for nearly 3 years, and I've 18 months employment my entire life. So if they've opened that institutional self to help me, they've not done a good job, because it cost me about 80% of my life, and that's all I have to say to them. So for me to address this issue without arrests, they need to pull all that institutional self out that's made to institutionalise somebody and cost them their life. So I need to relive all my teens and 20s again. They need to pull all that out, which has probably never been seen in the system ever. They've never probably seen that in the system. They've never done that in the system because of the power it holds, and they've been billionaires paying for it. People have paid tens of millions to relive their life again. That's why they don't create a deviant institutional self. You'd need to pull all that out back to the day I was 13-year-old, which is 20 years, by the way. That's all my teens and 20s they need to pull back out. And also, they need to compensate me significantly for years of torture, years of being assaulted, and years of living a life that's got nothing to do with my life. All the youthful sex I've lost out on, all the education I've lost out on, all the work I've lost out on. Not being on holiday in them 10 years, that's 10 holidays they've cost me, because realistically it should average one a year, no doubt, possibly more. 1.6 a year if you want, but one a year sounds fine. So they've lost me 10 holidays. Never mind the day-to-day basis stuff where you can't smell, or you're in pain or in agony and you can't get up and you're losing your life. It's a fucking joke. So in conclusion, for me to resolve this issue without police officers going to prison, they have to pull the full institutional self out, because all my power's pulled out. I've got no sex power. I'm incapable of having sex, incapable of getting power in society. I can't move most days. My jaw's completely locked, because they've internalised my breathing, my ability to sleep. So they need to pull a full institutional self out over 20 years, including the tens of thousands of illegal relativisations through it, which is random blokes with homosexuality in them, replicating me having sex with random people, random men, black guys, because they've relativised pure shit for an institutional self. All day, every day, created my life internally, committing crime against me. So they need to pull all that out, because that's all a load of shit, and half of it's criminal, and they also need to compensate me. And like I've just said, I've quickly had a thought about it in my head then, and it's well over 1 million, well over 2 million, potentially well over 3 million, but that's where you're starting to look at what we can do, because that's like 1 million for every 10 years they've wasted at 30. It would nowhere near suffice, but at least you can build your life back somehow for the years of damage they've done. That's education, work, sex with women. You could probably still get some kind of life left, but they'd have to pull that full institutional self out because it's got thousands of deviant relativizations through it that's full of shit. So they've relativised that much rubbish into it and pulled that much power out. You haven't got a life in society. My jaw's completely locked shut. They've internalised all my ability to sleep for myself, all the control over my own life. I'm struggling to project words or communicate effectively, and everything I says the same stuff over and over again because I'm a liar and I can't project. They stopped me from projecting or speaking for myself, calling me a liar, and snagged all my jaw shut. All my ability to get a full penis erection's being internalised, so that needs to come out. They need to pull all them black guys that they've stapled into my main drives, all them old men they've put into my sex power where I'm sexually aroused. They need to pull all that shit back out and redo it again correctly. So as far as I'm concerned, I've got tens of thousands of illegal relativizations because they're pulling my sex power out and putting it. They've made a job in my life or in my power in society to create my life internally, so they're relativising pure shit all day. Like I said, the best example I've got is when I used to walk to work. There'd be nobody on road, and all of a sudden a random black guy'd walk past me and they'd staple into my main drives about 50 times. Created a job out of my power where they create your life through symbolic interactionism. I've ended up with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of deviant relativizations. It's got nothing to do with my life and it's solely to institutionalise somebody, which they've done because my jaw's completely locked shut and the back of my skull's harder than a brick because they've pulled my entire power out over 20 years. So they need to pull every bit of it out. They'll never do that because nobody's ever done that. Problem continues costing me every day of my life. They've absolutely destroyed my life. And later on this week, I'm going to make the final video saying they've cost me 80% of my power in society, including sex with 50 women. They've wrecked my life. You're not getting power, committing crime against me, saying I'm not getting power in society. It's cost me the best years of my life.